All right, Tom at Snake River Base again. I want to talk about a couple methods for packing the pilot chute. I'm going to start with what I think of as the standard or normal mushroom pack. This is pretty much traditional in the base world. Base jumpers have been using it for a long time. It's very well understood and it has a good proven track record. I'm going to take my magazine, I'm going to stick it here underneath the BOC. Let's just take the pilot chute out and pretend it's not packed. First thing I'm going to do is run my hand up the bridle and remove any big twists. The reason I remove the twists is not because the twists will get transmitted down to the canopy and cause off headings. It's because the twists will prevent the pilot chute, or may prevent the pilot chute, from moving smoothly to the end of the bridle as the bridle tries to unfold. So I want the bridle smooth and flat so the pilot chute travels easier. Once I get my hand to the pilot chute, I'm going to run it up the mesh so that I have a sort of mushroom looking thing here. My hand's right between the mesh and the ZP. Then I'm going to take the mushroom, I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to put the cap right here where I want the handle to be once I finish packing the pilot chute. Now I can use the BOC as a measuring guide to see how deep these folds should be. I like to fold the pilot chute back with a little bit of mesh extending below the ZP. I do this for two reasons. The first one is I think it gives me better inflation. If the mesh is completely hidden by the ZP, there is some chance that as the air flows up to try and inflate it, it'll curl the ZP around the mesh and it'll hesitate for a second before it finds the mesh. So I like the mesh to stick out past the ZP if possible. It's not always possible. The other reason I like the mesh sticking out is the mesh is a little grippier on the BOC spandex, so that if I'm climbing a ladder or something and I bump the handle, the pilot chute's more likely to be retained if there's a little bit of mesh contacting down at the bottom of the BOC. I don't think that's a huge issue either, as long as your BOC is good, not too worn out, not too stretched out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the mesh over so that it reaches the bottom of the BOC. I'm not just folding it in half, I'm using the BOC as a measuring guide so I can fill the BOC completely. Then I'm going to S-fold the bridle here on top of the mesh. Try to make your folds as smooth and flat as possible because you want them to feed cleanly when you pitch the pilot chute. Once I get to the end, make sure the bridle's coming out the bottom of the pilot chute. If the bridle's up here on the top, just make yourself a half fold and bring it out the bottom. Don't bring it out the top. After that, I'm going to roll the mesh around the bridle to contain it and create a nice smooth channel that the bridle can feed out of. And then I'm going to fold the ZP down around the mesh. Personally, I don't like folding or rolling the ZP. I think if you just crush it into place, it actually opens better. Folds can sometimes stick together as the airflow hits them. Two pieces of ZP get pushed together, where wrinkles and mess will tend to expand more reliably. After I've done that, I'm going to roll my magazine around the BOC. And as we showed you in that last video, just use the magazine to insert the pilot chute in the BOC. If I've got some extra bridle hanging out here, I can just take it and feed it down into the BOC between the pilot chute and the bottom wall of the container. Be careful not to wrap it around the pilot chute, but if you got a little extra down there, that's not going to be a big deal.